This is your first Q&A time writing at 160 words per minute. Your proper names are Lakeside Fire Department, Atlanta Police Department, Lifesavers, City Manager, West Flags Amusement Park, and West Flags. Ready? Okay, now with whom are you currently employed?
Lakeside Fire Department.
And how long have you been with the Lakeside Fire Department?
Since January of 2000.
Now, it is my understanding that at one time you also worked for the Atlanta Police Department. Is that true?
That is correct.
Are you still currently employed with the Atlanta Police Department?
No.
Since 2000, have you worked for any other government agencies other than the Lakeside Fire Department?
No.
Do you also have a business on the side called Lifesavers?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Now, have you been working continuously with the Lakeside Fire Department since 2000 up to the present time?
No.
So you have not been continuously employed by the Lakeside Fire Department. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What period of time have you not been employed by the Lakeside Fire Department?
From April of 2002 until August of that same year.
And what is the reason you were not employed by the Lakeside Fire Department?
I was forced to resign.
Who forced you to resign?
The city manager.
Why did he force you to resign your position?
Because of my chemical dependency.
Now, were you reinstated in August of 2002?
Yes, I was.
And is this because of your dependency on some illegal substance?
No.
What is your dependency based upon?
My use of prescription drugs.
How long were you dependent on prescription drugs?
For some time.
Why were you dependent on drugs?
Because of a back injury that I got while working for the fire department.
I see. So the drugs that you were dependent upon were prescribed by a doctor. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct.
What is the doctor's name who prescribed these drugs?
Dr. Baylor.
How long have you been going to see Dr. Baylor for your back injury?
For more than a year.
I see. Now, during this time that you were off work from April to August of 2002, did you try to get your job back?
Yes, I did.
Now, during this time that you were not working for the Lakeside Fire Department, you worked for the Atlanta Police Department. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
How many days a month would you work for the police department?
Approximately 40 hours per month.
And were you paid hourly or on a salary?
Hourly.
What was your hourly rate?
Around $30 an hour.
Did you receive any benefits from the police department?
No, I did not.
Breaking your job at the police department into shifts, how many shifts would you work per month?
5.
Do you have any documentation or other records showing how much you earned when you worked for the Atlanta Police Department?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how much per month you were earning from the police department?
No.
Would you please produce that documentation for your attorney so that we can attach it to the deposition?
Yes.
What is the reason you left the Atlanta Police Department?
The city manager felt that I was too much of a risk.
Did the city manager explain to you why he felt you were too much of a risk?
Well, he was concerned about my drug problems.
Have you attempted to be reinstated into the Atlanta Police Department?
No.
Okay. Have you begun working anywhere else as a police officer?
No.
Okay. Now you also work for the college district. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what is your position with the college district?
Part-time instructor.
And how often do you work at the college?
Part-time.
How many days a week?
It varies. They call me when they need an instructor to teach certain classes.
Okay. When did you start working for the college district as an instructor?
Oh, I have been working for them on and off for over 10 years.
When is the last time you taught a class for the college district?
Last spring.
How long are the classes that you teach for the college district? 1 quarter or 1 semester?
Usually the classes last for 1 semester.
How are the classes set up?
What do you mean?
When do they meet?
Most of the classes I have taught meet 1 day a week, or I should say just 1 evening a week.
And how long is a semester in terms of weeks or months?
A semester is 16 weeks in length.
Now, How much do you earn working for the college district?
$44 per hour.
When are you next scheduled to teach for the college district?
In the fall.
Okay, now the records show that you worked for West Flags Amusement Park for a short period of time. Is that correct? This is your second Q&A time writing at 160 words per minute. Your proper names are Mrs. Carol, Coors Light, Terrytown Restaurant, Larry Walker, Larry, Cameron Bloom, Ford, 7-Eleven, Officer Billets, and Belligerent. Ready? Good morning, Mrs. Carol.
Good morning.
Did you say that Coors Light was your favorite brand of beer?
Well, yes, it is one of my favorites.
Okay. Now, when you were in front of the Terrytown Restaurant, you stated earlier that Larry Walker ran from some distance across the parking lot and came over to talk to you. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Had he told you that you should come with him into the bar and have a drink?
Yes.
Was there anyone else with him at that time?
No.
So as you now remember it, it was just the one person that approached you?
Yes, that is correct.
And so you then walked back into the bar with Larry, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And the purpose of your going to the bar with Larry was to have a beer. Is that correct?
Correct.
Were you planning to call your husband at that time?
Yes.
And did you actually make an attempt to call your husband?
Well, not right away.
When did you call your husband?
About 30 minutes later.
So you went to the bar looking for a phone?
I went to the restaurant side.
You did not have your cell phone with you at that time?
No, I did not.
Did you then look for a payphone?
Yes.
Did you ask anybody if there were any payphones outside of the bar?
No.
Did you ask anybody if there were any payphones inside of the bar?
No.
Did you ask anybody at that time to let you use the house phone?
No.
So after looking for a phone and not finding one, what did you do?
I went to the bathroom and then I resumed my seat in the bar with Larry.
How far is the Terrytown Restaurant from your home?
I believe it is only a couple of blocks.
So what were you thinking at this time?
I was thinking of calling my husband and having him come and get me.
And so you changed your mind about calling your husband when you did not find a phone, is that right?
Well, I did make one other attempt to call him.
When was that further attempt?
About 2 hours later.
Why was it at that time that you decided to make a further attempt?
Because I wanted to go home.
How much had you had to drink after that 2-hour period?
I don't know.
Would it be more than 1 mug of beer?
Yes, I had about 3 mugs of beer.
Do you remember when you had your last mug of beer that night?
I don't remember.
Did you have your last beer at the Terrytown Restaurant that night?
I believe so, yes.
Now, was there a 6-pack of beer purchased by Larry after you left the Terrytown Restaurant with him?
Yes.
What kind of beer was purchased? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember.
Did you drink any beer out of the 12-pack of beer that was purchased? I mean, the 6-pack of beer that was purchased?
I don't remember.
What time did you leave the Terrytown Restaurant?
I don't know the exact time. It was very late.
Would after 11 be a good estimate?
Yes.
And before you left the Terrytown Restaurant, did you receive an offer from someone else besides Larry to drive you home?
Yes.
Who?
Cameron Bloom.
Did you accept that offer?
Not really.
Well then, how did you end up in a car with Larry and Cameron?
I don't know.
Did Cameron and Larry come in the same vehicle to the restaurant? Do you know?
I don't know.
What kind of vehicle was Larry driving?
A truck.
What kind of truck?
A Ford pickup.
Do you remember the color of the Ford truck?
White.
Who drove the vehicle from the Terrytown Restaurant to the point where you picked up the 6-pack of beer?
Larry.
By the way, where did you pick up the 6-pack of beer?
At the 7-Eleven.
Now, when you're testifying here today, Is your recall based on the events that happened that night, or are you taking the little pieces and putting them together about things that you've heard and things that you've learned after the fact in order to testify here today?
I am testifying about the events of that night as I remember them.
Now, do you recall talking to Officer Billets the night before leaving the Terrytown restaurant?
Yes?
And how would you describe your demeanor when talking to Officer Billets?
Okay.
Do you recall being argumentative when talking to the officer?
No.
Do you recall being belligerent when talking to the officer?
No.
Do you recall being obnoxious and This is your first Q&A time writing at 140 words per minute. Your proper names are Kansas City, Kansas, Thomas James Chen, Texas, Horton Avenue, Apartment 3, Houston, Texas, Thomas, Texas Universal Properties, American Legal Center, Houston, bachelor's degree, Texas A&M, Aggie, and Don Chen. Ready? Okay. Thomas, do you have any questions about your deposition before we start?
No.
Later in the deposition, I am going to be asking you some questions about distances and speeds. Do you know the difference between an estimate and a guess?
Yes.
Have you taken any drugs or alcohol during the past 24 hours?
No.
Have you taken any medication during the past 24 hours?
No.
Is there any reason that your deposition should not proceed now as scheduled?
No.
At any time, did you review any documents, photographs, or any other items in preparation for this deposition?
No.
Can you tell me your age?
24.
And what is your date of birth?
10/24/82.
Where were you born?
Kansas City, Kansas.
And you were born as Thomas James Chen. Is that correct?
Yes.
Have you ever been married?
No.
Do you have any children?
No.
Do you have a Texas driver's license?
Yes, I do.
Could I see it and I will show it to your attorney? For the record, Thomas is handing me his driver's license.
Okay.
I have been handed a Texas driver's license number 890345. The issue date on this license is 6/25/05. The picture does appear to be that of the deponent. I am now handing the deponent his driver's license.
Thank you.
Thomas, what is your height?
5 foot 10 inches.
What is your weight?
145 pounds.
What is your current residence address?
1100 Horton Avenue, Apartment 3, Houston, Texas.
Let me see the license again, please. I would like to take another look at the picture.
Here it is.
Let the record reflect that the deponent has his driver's license back. When did you move to Horton Avenue?
Last year.
Who do you live with at the Horton Avenue address, Thomas?
By myself.
Have you ever lived with anybody at the Horton Avenue address?
No.
Who is your landlord?
Texas Universal Properties.
Are you presently employed, Thomas?
Yes, I am.
Where do you work?
The American Legal Center in Houston.
What do you do at the American Legal Center?
I coordinate the issuing of work permits to migrant workers, and I also work with my boss on immigration policies.
I see. Okay. And could you tell me your educational background, please?
I have a bachelor's degree from Texas A&M.
When did you obtain that degree?
2 years ago.
What was your major?
Political science.
Have you attended any other institutions of learning other than Texas A&M?
Like high school, you mean?
No, I mean, have you attended any other colleges?
No.
Where did you go to high school?
I graduated from high school in Houston.
Did you ever play any sports while in high school or while a student at Texas A&M?
I played soccer in high school and also tennis.
Did you ever injure your foot prior to this accident?
No.
Are you claiming that you injured your foot in this accident?
Yes, I am.
Were you taken to the hospital by ambulance after this accident?
No.
During or after the accident, did your foot hit anything in the interior of the car that you know of?
It is possible, yes.
Well, you don't know for sure, do you?
Everything happened very quickly. I just know that my foot got hurt at the time of the accident.
Did you tell the police that?
I don't remember.
Who was the first person or persons that you told after the accident that your foot hurt you?
My mom and dad.
Where do your parents live?
In Houston.
What are your parents' names?
Aggie and Don Chen.
When did you tell your parents that your foot hurt you?
I believe it was the same day as the accident.
Which foot was bothering you?
My right foot.
Did your foot ever swell up?
Yes, it did, just slightly.
When did you start noticing that your foot was swelling up?
Within a few days of the accident.
When did your foot start hurting you?
The night after the accident.
Had you ever? This is your second Q&A time writing at 140 words per minute. Your proper names are Mrs. Pollock, Carolyn Lang, and Ms. Lang. Ready? Do you recall when you first spoke with Mrs. Pollock?
I believe it was in October of 2004.
Was your first contact with her over the phone or in person?
I believe my first contact with her was in person.
You had a meeting with Mrs. Pollock in October of 2004 in her office. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was anyone else present during that meeting?
Yes.
Who else was present?
Carolyn Lang.
And who is Carolyn Lang?
A friend.
Was she present during the entire conversation that you had with Mrs. Pollock?
Yes.
How long did that conversation last, or do you remember?
Well, I am not exactly sure of the length of time.
Well, do you have a rough estimate?
Yes. Maybe it lasted an hour or so.
Did you take any notes during that conversation with Mrs. Pollock?
No.
Was anyone else present at that meeting besides you, Mrs. Pollock, and your friend Ms. Lang?
No.
Did you bring any documents with you in that first meeting with Mrs. Pollock in October of 2004?
Well, I'm trying to think back and remember. I am not sure.
Do you remember what you and Mrs. Pollock discussed during that first meeting in her office in October of 2004?
Yes. The dissolution of the marriage.
What did you tell Mrs. Pollock?
That I wanted to dissolve my marriage.
Did you tell her anything else at that time?
Yes. I told her the reasons that I wanted to dissolve my marriage.
What did you tell Mrs. Pollock was the reason that you wanted to dissolve your marriage?
Because he was cheating on me.
Did you tell her anything else?
Just what he did for a living.
And what was that?
He was an actor.
Did you say anything else to her?
Yes. I talked about his income.
What did you tell Mrs. Pollock that you thought was his approximate income?
I would have to look. I know that, but I can't think of the exact amount that I quoted at that time to her.
What would you look at to find out how much he makes?
The records on our computer for taxes.
Is there anything else that you told Mrs. Pollock in that meeting in October of 2004?
I can't recall everything right now.
Did you ask her any questions at that time?
Yes.
What did you ask her?
I asked her approximately how much she thought it would be to dissolve the marriage.
Did she respond to you with any numbers?
Yes. She said it would be about $35,000.
Did she say anything else with regard to the cost in that first meeting or conference that you had with her?
She just talked about some other cases she was doing and how much they would cost in comparison to our case.
Anything else that she said? with regard to the costs involved?
Well, she talked about her retainer fee.
What did she say about the retainer fee?
It would be just her usual retainer fee,
How much is the usual retainer fee?
$10,000.
Did you ask her any other questions at that first meeting in October of '04?
I asked a lot of questions, but I can't remember them all right now.
Did Mrs. Pollack give you any documents at that first meeting or conference?
I can't recall.
Did you keep a calendar for the year of 2000 of all of your appointments?
Yes.
Can you tell me who you spoke with at Mrs. Pollack's office during the time that her office represented you and your divorce situation?
Well, she had several girls working for her. I don't remember their names. They all had different jobs. One day I would speak to one, and then sometimes when I called in, I would get someone else.
Were they all attorneys or secretaries? Do you know?
One may have been a secretary. One may have been a paralegal or somebody that helped out in the office on cases. I am not real sure. I am not sure how many people, different people, that I talked